Welcome to Art with Mrs. Cap, where we are going on a journey through the world of art and the many histories and cultures that influence it. Whether you're a kid or a kid at heart, wanting to learn more about the art world, this is the podcast for you. So join us as we journey through art with Mrs. Cap. Welcome to today's podcast. So we are going to be looking at something a little bit different than what we've looked at previously in our episodes, but we're actually going to be diving into the world of modernist photography. And you cannot talk about American modernism and photography and not speak of Ansel Adams. Ansel Adams is by far the most iconic photographer of American art history. And a personal favorite of mine. I operate as a photographer as well, and Ansel Adams is my inspiration. So I'm obviously nowhere near as good as him, but I just have always been fascinated by his work. So a little bit of a background, Ansel Adams was part of a group that is known in the photography world as just the F64 or the group F64. And they were a group of 20th century photographers, mainly from the San Francisco Bay Area, who had this common photographic style that was really characterized by sharply focused and carefully framed images that we see particularly in the Western U.S. viewpoint. So they formed in opposition to the pictorialist photographic style that had really dominated the 20th century. But they wanted to really promote this new modernist aesthetic that was based on very precisely exposed images of natural forms and found objects. And so that's kind of why we start to see the shift in photography, and we start to see what seems like a random photograph, but there was a whole purpose behind it. Ansel Adams primarily did his photography in the great outdoors, especially in Yosemite, the national park. But he also did it in other, places as well in the West. And when he started in the beginning days of his photography, there was glass plate negatives is what he used. And a camera was not as portable as it is today. And so he was actually hiking and using a pack mule to carry his photography gear and all this kind of stuff. And so it really is a miracle that we have some of the works that we have today from him, given they were glass plate negatives and he was using a mule to carry all of this stuff. But the work that we're looking at today is probably one of the most iconic works of his, or one of the most recognizable. And it is called Monolith, the Face of Half Dome. And so it is a black and white film photograph that was taken by Ansel Adams. It depicts the western face of Half Dome in Yosemite, which is in California. You can kind of see in the foreground, you see the textures and the detail of the rocks, but in the background of the landscape, you can also see the pine trees and the Tenaya Peak. So the monolith was used by the Sierra Club as a visual aid for the environmentalist movement. And so this was the first photograph Ansel made that was based on feelings. And this is a concept that ended up becoming something that would define his visualization and have him create what became known as the zone system. So the image stands as a testament to the intense relationship that Ansel had with the landscape of Yosemite. And his career is largely marked by photographing this Yosemite area. And Half Dome is still photographed by people today who are Ansel fanatics. It's on my bucket list. I want to go and photograph this one day. They have a whole like Ansel tour, and all this kind of stuff where you can photograph at all the spots that Ansel Adams used to photograph at. So it's really cool that these things are still there. And, who knows, we may owe it to artists like Ansel Adams, who brought attention to these beautiful works of nature, to preserve them for future generations. And that's kind of what we see happening in this time period, is this awareness, thanks to President Teddy Roosevelt and some others who brought attention to the great outdoors. So it's definitely a testament to the work of people like Ansel Adams, who put these images out there to show people what the beauty was that, we had here, and the rich treasures we had here in our country in the United States. So looking at the process of this, how he accomplished this, he was originally going to use a yellow filter, and then he realized it was going to make the sky too bright. It wasn't going to have the look that he wanted. And so at the last minute, as he started processing how colors go and everything, instead of using the K2 yellow filter, he decided to create the drama that he wanted. He was going to have to shift. And so he used a really dark red filter. And that's how we get this sky that looks really, really, really dark and almost black. And these really dark contrasts and all this detail with the snow and the shadows and everything that create this very rich and textured image that captures the details so beautifully. So this is what he's known for, his works. He really focused on creating these really detailed and contrasting images, and it's a lot of fun to try and mimic that style and so forth in the darkroom and in the digital darkroom now. But it's just a testament to his work and his eye and the way he was able to see things and accomplish what he wanted to with the limitations that he had. Today we have all kinds of tools and techniques, but it's still amazing that his work stands out from a lot of the digital work we see today. It's just a mark of the sheer genius of him as an artist and as an environmentalist. We hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Be sure to subscribe and check out more episodes as we travel through the world of art and art history to have a better understanding of our own ties to the culture and history of humanity.